Hey my YouTube friends, welcome to another one of my YouTube videos where I share with you just how I grow orchids right here in Jamaica. About a year ago, I did a feature on the Phalaenopsis orchids, how I grow them here in Manchester, Jamaica, and the kind of medium that I use to grow them. We all love to have beautiful orchids, but the truth about it, there are times when we just cannot get it right. Doesn't matter what we do, we just doesn't always get it right. And I find one of the most challenging orchids for me to grow is really the Phalaenopsis orchids. And that is so for many reasons. And I will share some of those with you. And so guys, if you want to see just what I do with my Phalaenopsis orchids when I end up with whether root rot, crown rot, or Erwinia disease, I'll show you exactly what I do with them so that I don't lose them. So if you want to see that, why don't you just hang around? So welcome back guys. Now when you look at these Phalaenopsis orchids, you would have realized how beautiful they are. Just look how healthy they are looking. Look at the leaves. And of course, we grow Phalaenopsis orchids in different medium. Some persons will grow them in sphagnum moss, while others may grow them into different Phalaenopsis mix, which may consist of bark, lava rock, perlite, and different medium. I do grow them in both medium because I'm trying to figure out what works best for me. I also mount a few of them, and I am finding out that I am getting very good results when I mount them. I am going to be showing you what is happening to me, why from time to time I tend to mount, and I'm going to also show you the result that I get from mounting these plants and the different medium that I mount them on as well. Alright, so as much as how beautiful these are, there are times when, based on the time of year, the humidity, the heat, the amount of ventilation that they get, that you may end up with whether crown rot, and this is where the crown of the orchids, because of course Phalaenopsis orchids are monopodium. So what that means is it keeps sending out new leaves to the top. Let me show you just right here. So it will always be sending out new leaves, and that is why it is referred to as monopodium, because it doesn't send out side shoots or it doesn't send out pseudobulbs. That is how it grows. And therefore, if this new leaf, if this area where you have the new leaves or the new leaf coming out, if that area becomes damaged, then of course the plant will either die or you're going to start losing that plant. And that is one of the main problems that we tend to have with our Phalaenopsis orchids. So here I have two Phalaenopsis orchids that have actually lost their center growth or main growth area from crown rot. If you notice, this one has just one leaf left and this one luckily has two. So what happened to me when the center of these plants, and this happened sometimes because of poor air circulation, it also happens once we allow the water to sit in the center of the plant. And that is why Phalaenopsis orchids, we can't water them too much, because if we do, we may end up with situations like this. So when I recognize that we are ending up with this problem, one of the things that I do, of course, you know, cinnamon is usually nice to use in our garden. So I will put a little cinnamon powder in the center here to kind of stop what is happening there. Usually what is happening here is as a result of some bacterial growth which deteriorate the plant. But if you look at this plant, you will notice that the roots are actually pretty healthy. And this is actually grown in sphagnum moss. And if you notice how healthy the roots are, but I'm losing the plant. So one of the things that I do with these is I actually mount these, and I mount them on different medium. I mount on fernwood, or I may mount it on a tree, or I may mount it on the coconut frond, and I am getting good results. So I'm going to show you just what I do and how I mount those plants. The first one I'm going to be mounting, I'm going to be putting it on the coconut frond. So what I'm basically going to be doing is to remove the top section, because I'm only going to be using this bottom section of the coconut frond for this project. So I use my blade, my hacksaw blade. I'm going to try it right here. So I have removed the top section of this coconut frond. So if you notice here, I have my drill because I'm going to use it to make some holes in this. So what I'm basically going to be doing is removing this section from the coconut frond. And I don't throw these away because I also use these when I am cutting into my wooden baskets. That's this section, I don't throw them away. Because when you're potting in the wooden basket, when you don't want the medium to fall out, you can use this section to sort of form a little barrier. So many sections of the coconut front here I use. So I use this to line the wooden basket here before I put the medium in. So when I do that, it prevents the medium from falling out through the holes in the wooden basket. I'm going to use a zip tie to actually secure this in place. I'm going to use a drill to put the holes in this for the zip tie to hold securely. So I'm doing that right now. So that's the first hole right there. I'm going to also put a hole here to hang the plant. It's a very simple process. Then I'm gonna put my zip tie in. So put it in the hole right there, and I've already taken the plant out. I could either soak this plant if I choose to, but in this instant I won't. All I'm gonna do, I'm gonna open it up a little bit, and I don't even have to do that. But because it is so compact, I'm gonna open it up a little bit, and all I do, I fix it. I could take off some of the moss. As a matter of fact, I don't even have to put any moss on this when I'm doing it, because the coconut frond tend to hold a little bit of moisture and doesn't cause the roots to get rot. So note the angle that I have placed it at, and I'm now gonna put the zip tie through the hole, and I've kind of slant this a little bit for the water to run off and not settle in the center of it. I'm now gonna secure the tie around the back. That's it. And that is it. In a bit, I'll show you exactly what it looks like when it matures. So the next one I'm going to put on the fernwood. I'm also going to put the tag right in it, so at least I'll know what it is when it starts blooming. So I didn't have to take all the moss off, but I choose to take most of it off because it doesn't really need too much of the moss, because the roots will cling to the coconut frond, and the roots really loves this coconut frond. So this piece of fernwood slab is not very big, not very thick, so I will not put any hole in it. What I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna use a zip tie as is. So if the zip tie is not long enough, what you can do, you can join them. I do that all the time, but let us see what happens first. And if you look again, the roots are quite healthy. I'm going to be removing most of the moss from this one. So you don't have to throw it away because it looks like it is dead. Once it has healthy roots, there's a chance that it can recover. And I'm going to show you some in a little while that I have done before and show you the result of those. So I'm removing the dead roots as much as I can. Okay. I'm going to put it onto the flatter section. Okay, I'm going to turn it this way. But my roots are nice and healthy, so I want to put my roots on the planting medium or on the mounting material so that it becomes established as quickly as possible. So I'm going to put the healthy roots on it. So I'm setting it like this, and pretty easy. Use your zip tie from this one, and this is a little short, so I'm going to add another one to it. And that is it. And of course my tag, which is very important, I'm going to stick it in here. And that is it. So all that I'm going to do now, I'm going to actually put a bit of metal here for it to be able to hang. Right, so I put a hole in it, and then I'm going to put a bit of metal in it to allow easy hanging. So I put this through and secure it up here so that it doesn't fall out easily. And then I bend this over for hanging, and that's it. Okay, and so when it is like this, the water will run through. Yes, some will stay in moss, but for the most part the roots will be free and it will start hanging onto the material that you mount it on. So I'm going to show you some of those that I've done already. So this is where I have a lot of my Phalaenopsis orchids that have been dying, and I choose to actually mount them, and I place them under my infamous almond tree. So I'm going to get up close and show you some of what has been happening with some of them. My little friend up here. I tell you, if you're a gardener, you can't be afraid of these lizards, you know. You just have to facilitate them. All right, so we are getting closer, guys. This is one that I did a few months ago. It was actually dying, and I actually mounted it on this piece of fernwood slab. Actually, there are two of them, and if you notice right here, I'm getting some new growth right here, so a new one is coming out. And that's the same thing happening to the one that is above it. Right here I have two coming out. This one, it is actually sending out some roots down into the fern root. All right, so I'm gonna place the ones that I just did under this tree. So in order to make them look a little bit more appealing, I'm gonna just add a little bit of Spanish moss around it to make it a little bit more appealing. Just a little bit. And then I'm gonna place this under the tree. Try and find a nice spot for it. So I'm gonna place it right here. So that's the one I just did. So I'm gonna show you one that I had done on the coconut frond some time ago. So this is another one. Let me take it down so that you can get a better view of the progress of this one. So this one was done some time ago, and let me show you what's happening here. And this one, I actually had taken off all the moss from it, and if you notice here, it is actually latching on to the coconut frond. I'm not seeing any new plant yet, but there again, more roots. But what this one is doing, it is actually spiking, and perhaps that is why it hasn't sent out any new plant as yet. So let me just rest it here so you can see it properly. Right, so it actually has on a spike. All right, this is another one. Let me take it down and show you what is happening with this one as well. So this is the first one that I did on the coconut frond, and it is always in bloom. So look how established it is. I just add a bit of the moss and look how it latches on, and it is also spiking again. So it has on bloom on one end and it is spiking again on the other. So there it is. So this is where I'm gonna also put this one that I just did. I'm gonna hang it right here. And I'm also gonna put a little bit of Spanish moss on it. I find that, look at this with the Spanish moss, it enhances it. And let me show you, let me take it from this area so you get a better view of it. And that is it with the Spanish moss. How beautiful it is. So it gives you that rustic look, it saves the plant, and basically I keep them hanging under the almond tree. So I water it twice per week. So the keep and care is similar to all the other plants that I have hanging under the almond tree. Fertilize, similar with the other plants. Here is another one that it recently bloomed for me. This one I actually place in a hanging basket. See, it suffered from crown rot as well, and I place it in this hanging basket. It's not, this was done recently, but it's sending out some beautiful roots, but I'm not seeing any new growth as yet. So this is another way in which I actually grow it. Well, I'm just trying this method as well, but all in all, I place them under the almond tree where it gets filtered sunlight, and to some extent it gets water when it rains, and they seem to like it under here. So once my Phalaenopsis orchids are dying, I'm gonna take them, I'm gonna mount them, and I'm gonna place them under a tree, and that will help them to come back, so I won't lose them after all. So I'm gonna show you another one which is actually in bloom right now. This is the first one that I've ever mounted, and this one is actually mounted on the palm tree. And there it is. So the roots are actually all over the place. And there are other things that are mounted on this palm tree. So it's not just a Phalaenopsis orchid that is mounted. I also have this Jamaica fire that is mounted on the palm tree. The leaves, yes, you have little issues with them when they are outside like that. You have to give them frequent spraying and so forth. But the truth about it, it saves them. That's how they grow in the wild. And they really like this kind of growing condition. And see, I think this is the second time that this is blooming for me right here. So here are two others that I have right here that I was losing through crown rot. And I left these in the pots, so you don't even have to mount them in there. You can leave them in the pot, and once you give it the regular keep and care, eventually they will recover by sending out a new plant. And that is what is happening right here. It suffered crown rot and it is sending out a new plant. All I did was leave it in the pot and give it the regular keep and care. So guys, never lose another one of your Phalaenopsis orchids from crown rot. If it develops crown rot, either you leave it and continue to take care of it, you use a little cinnamon to get rid of the problem, or you can simply just mount it, because when you mount it, and when you're mounting it, just make sure you turn it down so that the water do not settle in the center of the plant, because that is one of the reasons why they will develop crown rot, because when you water and the water settles here and the air circulation is not good enough, then it will stay there for too long, and the result of that is perhaps bacterial multiplication, which result in the rotting of the center or the apex of the plant, and that result in you losing that plant because it cannot grow any further, and therefore it will either die if you do not continue to take care of it. But if you continue to take care of it, what will happen? It will send out a new shoot, or if you mount it, it even makes better sense. So if you learned something from this video today, I ask you to give me a thumbs up so you never miss another one of my videos. Please, if you haven't yet done so, subscribe to my channel. And as we say in Jamaica, just follow back on me now. This is the Orchid Duck, and I am growing orchids right here in Manchester, Jamaica.